Warning: this video contains discussion of violence, intimate violence, and murder, as well as childhood mistreatment of various forms. Viewer discretion is advised as this content can be disturbing to many and is not suitable for those under 18 years of age. This information is discussed only in order to inform and educate. Since the 1970s, researchers have sought to understand what creates serial killers. Initial research efforts were coming from a place of very little knowledge. Initially, researchers worked to understand serial killers' motivations and behaviors after they offended. As shown in the Netflix show Mindhunter, this helped create more accurate profiles of killers. This helped law enforcement agencies search for and capture new serial killers more effectively. I recently read an interesting research paper, a behavior sequence analysis of serial killers' lives, from childhood mistreatment to methods of murder. Behavioral sequence analysis is a method of investigating how chains of events and behaviors are linked over time. It can find links between childhood backgrounds and serial killers' behaviors when killing. This can improve law enforcement agencies' profiles and help catch serial killers more rapidly, saving lives. The World Health Organization defines abuse as all forms of physical and/or emotional mistreatment or intimate mistreatment involving a child. Abuse also includes neglect or negligent treatment or commercial or other exploitation, resulting in actual or potential harm to the child. This study looked specifically at physical abuse, acts that cause actual physical harm or have the potential for harm, psychological abuse, acts that have an adverse effect on the emotional health and development of the child or the lack of an appropriate and supportive environment, intimate abuse, acts in which a child is intimately mistreated or exploited, and combinations of two or even all three types of mistreatment. On average, among serial killers, 50% experienced psychological mistreatment during childhood, 36% experienced physical mistreatment, and 26% experienced intimate mistreatment. There is a strong link between childhood abuse and later serial killing. Less is known about whether the type of abuse plays a part in determining what type of serial killer the individual develops into. This is referred to as their typology. Typology is a system used for classifying things into groups according to how they are similar and different. Serial homicide is defined as the unlawful killing of two or more victims in separate incidents. Spree killings, which are murders that occur in two or more locations with no emotional cooling off period between them, are different from serial homicide. Mass murders are defined as four or more murders occurring in a single event with no significant gap between them. Current efforts to create serial killer profiles rely on crime scene analysis such as location, staging of the scene by the killer, etc., forensics such as DNA and fingerprints, and survivor and witness testimony. It is retrospective. It only provides information after the act. It involves the use of educated guesses applied to data gained through crime scene analysis, forensics, and testimony. Therefore, the profiles are limited by our lack of understanding of serial killers, which improves through interviews and research like this, the limits of current scientific knowledge. For example, 10 years from now, we will be able to obtain DNA matches from specimens where it is currently impossible, and the inaccuracies inherent in the testimony of traumatized survivors and witnesses. Initially, serial killers were divided into two categories. 1. Organized. The killer plans the crimes, specifically targets victims, and displays control during the act. And secondly, disorganized. Less planning, picks victims by chance, less control during the act. Later, this division was recognized as too simplistic. Recent models differentiate between them in different ways, namely, a first group comprised of visionary, mission-oriented, hedonistic, and power control-oriented killers. A second group comprising thrill killers, profit-motivated, and own family killers. And lastly, place-specific serial killers, local region killers, and traveling serial killers. As can be seen, there are many different ways to view serial killers, their motivations, and behaviors. Behavioral sequence analysis is a method for investigating how chains of events and behaviors are linked over time. It can determine how likely it is, compared to chance, that a behavior will follow an event. What the authors are interested in is how frequently a certain serial killer behavior follows a certain type of mistreatment in childhood. If the authors prove that a certain behavior follows a certain type of mistreatment in childhood more frequently than by chance, then this potentially does two things. Firstly, helps us build better profiles of currently active serial killers, helping law enforcement agencies catch them sooner. And secondly, helps us predict childhood trauma which predisposes people to become serial killers in later life. With this knowledge, we can create therapeutic interventions to break that chain and divert them onto a different, non-murdering path. As ever, prevention is better than cure, and a much happier outcome for all the victims who may never be. This paper simply indicates links between the abuse and serial killer typology, but cannot confirm causality. Causality is the relationship between cause and effect. In other words, this study can say B is more likely to happen if A occurred in childhood, but it cannot prove that A causes B. The study looked at the histories and behaviors of 233 serial killers. The vast majority, 176, of these serial killers were from the United States, with the rest coming from 17 other countries. Forensic psychologists reviewed the events and behaviors. Types of childhood abuse, whether it was physical, psychological, intimate, or a combination of several of these types. Killer typology, what motivated the killings, usually lust, anger, power, or financial gain. And crime scene behavior, the method of killing, what was done with the body. The types of childhood mistreatment which were found were physical in 15% of serial killers, psychological in 15%, intimate in 9%, psychological and physical in 38%, physical and intimate in 3%, psychological and intimate in none, and physical, psychological, and intimate in 20%. Killer typology. Lust killings are those which involve sexual elements. This includes intimate assault without penetration, intimate assault with penetration, or symbolic intimate assault involving penetration with items. Anger killings are those where the killer is motivated by feelings of anger, frustration, or betrayal, whether real or imagined. Power killings are those where the killer derives pleasure from having complete control over their victims. Financial gain killings are those where the motivation is based on the accumulation of goods or finances. Crime scene behavior. What was done with the victims' bodies after their murder? Were they moved to a different location and buried, hidden at the crime scene, etc.? The main statistic used to understand the results is the standardized residual, otherwise known as SR. A standardized residual is a way of comparing the numbers we see with the numbers we expected to see. The greater the difference between the numbers we expected and the numbers we see, the greater the SR value. An SR of more than 2 means the results. An SR of more than 2 means that the result, a certain type of experience in childhood, resulting in a certain type of serial killer behavior, is not a fluke. The greater the SR, the more likely the relationship is not due to chance. It is seductive to look at the diagrams which follow and link entire chains of events and following behaviors. However, the behavioral scene analysis in this study only proves a link between pairs of behaviors, not these longer chains. It is possible that with further study, longer chains can be proven to be linked together. Childhood physical mistreatment. Children who are only mistreated physically are, if they become serial killers, most likely to have a lust-killing pattern. Usually these murders are carried out quickly, with evidence of overkill, victim restraint, and leaving the body at the scene. Overkill is usually defined as the infliction of massive injuries far exceeding the number and extent necessary to kill the victim. It is very much of an "I know it when I see it" definition, rather than one with rigidly defined parameters. Childhood psychological mistreatment. Children who are only mistreated psychologically are, if they become serial killers, most likely to have a lust-killing pattern. Usually these murders involve torture, evidence of overkill, mutilation, post-mortem dismemberment, and dumping the body or portions of the body in an attempt to conceal it. Childhood intimate abuse. Children who are victims only of intimate abuse can, if they become serial killers, exhibit any of the 4 typologies: lust, anger, power, and financial gain. If they follow a lust-killing pattern, then most murders involve torture, restrained and blindfolded victims, evidence of overkill, mutilation, and post-mortem defilement of the body. I wish to clarify that the vast majority of those unfortunate enough to suffer childhood intimate abuse do not become serial killers. However, if they do kill, they are likely to follow the patterns outlined. Psychological, physical, and intimate abuse. Those who suffered all 3 forms of mistreatment during childhood are most likely to have an intimate assault lust typology. Victims of the intimate assault lust typology are most likely to be bound with high rates of mutilation and overkill. Anger and financial gain are the most common other typologies and feature murders which are most quickly carried out. With the anger typology, evidence of overkill is often present. Overall behavior sequence analysis. So let's bring this all together. The Oscar Wilde saying that everything is about sex except sex, which is all about power, has some bearing here. Serial killers who suffered childhood intimate abuse tend to have a power typology to their killings. When the power typology is present, the murders tend to be carried out quickly with evidence of overkill. In almost all cases of murder for financial gain, the murders are carried out quickly without any evidence of torture, although there may still be evidence of overkill. This makes sense, since when the motive is financial gain, the feelings which drive overkill and torture often aren't present. The main predictor of mutilation is whether or not the victim was bound. Bound victims were much more likely to be blindfolded, tortured, and mutilated than chance would predict. Unsurprisingly, bodily transgressive acts like vampirism and cannibalism are strongly associated with bodily dismemberment, because once an individual has crossed the threshold into vampirism and cannibalism, moving on to dismemberment is just one more small transgression. We hope you found this article review of which types of childhood experience are associated with later serial killer behaviors interesting. If you enjoyed this video and want to let us know you want to see more videos like this, hit the like button. Please leave any comments or questions in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them. I've included a link to the original article in the description below. If you'd like to find out more about this topic, I've included links to a book by Robert Ressler of the FBI Behavioural Science Unit, who did much of the earliest work in profiling serial killers, as well as Ronson's The Psychopath test. These are affiliate links, so if you purchase the books through them, we'll receive a commission which we'll put towards creating more and better content. If you'd like to be notified when we release videos, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon. As always, take care and stay safe.